You lose 9 kg. You feel fantastic. You even buy new clothes, but then 6 months later, the scale starts creeping up. You haven't changed your diet, you haven't stopped exercising, and yet the weight is coming back with vengeance. You feel like a failure. You even think it's lack of willpower. But as a medical doctor, I am here to tell you that it is not in your head, and it is largely not your fault. There is a biological war taking place inside your body. We will examine the famous Biggest Loser study published in 2016, which revealed a startling truth about medical adaptation. We will break down the 2011 New England Journal of Medicine study that explains why your own hormones are conspiring to make you hungry. And finally, we will look at the Minnesota starvation experiment to understand the set point theory. If you are a man between 25 and 45 trying to stay fit, it's essential to understand the biology of weight regain so you can finally overcome your own physiology. Hello, I'm Dr. Ngundi. Welcome to the channel. In my years of focusing in fitness and health aging, the most common frustration I hear from men isn't about losing weight, it's about keeping it off. We have been sold a lie that weight loss is a simple math equation: calories in versus calories out. While the thermodynamics are true, the variable that everyone forgets is the calories out. Part of the equation then changes. Your body is not a statistic machine, it's a dynamic survival mechanism. When you aggressively cut calories, your body doesn't view it as diet, it views it as a famine. It therefore triggers ancient survival mechanism designed to keep you alive during food shortage. Today, I am going to walk you through the three main biological pillars of weight regain: metabolic adaptation, hormonal sabotage, and the set point theory. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why you regained the weight, you will understand what you need to do differently to prevent it. For that being said, now let's start with the first one, which is the metabolic adaptation. Let's start with the most dramatic example of this mechanism. The 2016 study published in the journal Obesity, which followed contestants from the Biggest Loser television show. We all remember the show. I guess people lost massive amounts of weight in a short time through extreme calorie restriction and hours of exercise. But what happened 6 years later? The study found that nearly all the contestants had regained a significant amount of weight. But here is the shocking part. It wasn't just because they started eating pizza again. The researchers measured their resting metabolic rate, which is the RMR. And this is the amount of energy your body burns just to keep your heart beating and your organ functioning. After their dramatic weight loss, their metabolism had crashed. But 6 years later, even after regaining weight, their metabolism had not recovered completely. And on average, these contestants were burning approximately 500 fewer calories per day than other people of their same size. Think about what that means biologically. If you and a Biggest Loser contestant both weighed 90 kg, he had to eat one entire meal less than you every single day just to maintain that weight. If he eats the same amount as you, he regains fat. And this is what we call metabolic adaptation. When you lose mass, you naturally burn fewer calories because there is less of you to move around. That is normal. However, the body often overreacts. It becomes hyper efficient. It learns to do more with less fuel. I always see men who crash diet in their 30s. They drop weight fast, but they train their metabolism to be stingy. This creates a gap between the calories you think you need and the calories your body actually uses. The metabolic gap is where the weight regain begins. So your metabolism slows down. That is bad enough, but unfortunately, your biology attacks you from a second angle: your appetite hormone. There was a landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2011 that looked specifically at the hormonal response to dieting. The researchers put participants on diet and then monitored their blood markers for a full year afterward. And they found that after the diet ended, the hormones that control hunger were still completely out of whack. Let's talk about the two main players here, which are ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is often called the hunger hormone. It's produced in the gut and screams at your brain to eat. The study found that after weight loss, ghrelin level spikes significantly, and this is the key. They stay elevated. You aren't just imagining that you are hungrier than before. Biologically, you are. On the flip side, we have leptin, and leptin is the satiety hormone. It is produced by your fat cells. Its job is to tell your brain we have enough energy stored, you can stop eating. When you lose body fat, your leptin levels drop. The signal to your brain that say I am full gets turned down to a whisper. So combine these two factors, you have a metabolism that is burning fewer calories. High levels of ghrelin screaming eat and low level of leptin failing to say stop. This isn't a lack of willpower, this is a coordinated biological response. Your brain is literally sensing a state of energy deprivation, and this increases the reward value of food. Have you ever noticed that food smells better and tastes better when you are dieting? That is your brain upregulating your sensory sensitivity to ensure you find food and survive the famine. And this brings us to our third pillar, the set point theory and danger of collateral fattening. To understand this, we have to look back at the Minnesota starvation experiment conducted by Ansel Keys in 1944. This was a study on human physiology where men were subjected to semi-starvation. During the restriction phase, these men became obsessed with food. They collected recipes they dreamed about eating. But the most interesting data came during the refeeding phase. When the men were allowed to eat again, their body fat returned rapidly, much faster than their muscle mass. In fact, many of them overshot the original starting weight. They ended up with more body fat than when they started the experiment. Now, the real question would be, why does this happen? This is your body trying to restore its set point. The body prioritizes regaining fat because fat is the ultimate survival fuel. And this is where it gets dangerous for men in our age bracket, specifically 35 and up to. When you diet without the proper stimulus, you are losing both fat and muscle. And we know that muscle is a metabolic currency. And by the way, I have a whole video right here dedicated to muscle loss after 40 that you should watch shortly after this one, where I explain sarcopenia in depth. Let's go back to what we're talking about earlier. But in the context of dieting, if you lose muscle, you lower your metabolic rate even further. When you start eating normally again, your body rushes to store fat to protect against future starvation. But because muscle builds back much slower than fat, you end up with a high body fat percentage than when you started. And this is the yo-yo effect. You diet down, you lose muscle and fat. And when it comes back, you regain mostly fat. You diet again, losing muscle, and then you go back again, you start dieting, losing muscles and fat over and over. And over 10 years, you might weigh the same on the scale, but your body composition has shifted drastically toward fat and your metabolic rate has dropped. I know this sounds depressing. You might be thinking, but Dr. Gundi, are you saying I'm doomed to be overweight? Absolutely not. That is not what I am saying. But you have to stop dieting and start training. The only way to counteract metabolic adaptation and the loss of the set point is to prioritize muscle tissue. You cannot just cut calories. You must signal your body that muscle is essential for survival. This is done through heavy resistant training and high protein intake. If you are just doing cardio and cutting calories, you are setting up yourself for hormonal crashes I just described. You need to lift heavy things. And by the way, I discussed the specifics of how to do this in my video on strength training for men over 30. So please click that link and get this practical workout advice you need to combat this biology. Don't fight your biology, work with it. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to more evidence-based medical advice on aging and fitness. I'm Dr. Gundi, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.